joining me on Candid Conversations today, Lethabo. It is an honor to have you on the show today. I knew that when I started the show, having you on the platform had to be something that had to happen because of the inspiring story that you have to tell through everything you've done in your life, only at the tender age of 18, which is incredible. And when you sent me your bio to read over, I for one said, wow, this is a very long bio. And when I was 18, half of the things you did are things that I never ever did. And so, I was really interested in getting to know how the person who has been able to, live in purpose so much grew up. What
Yeah.
were the things that influenced you? And, at which points in your life were seeds planted of leadership and faith for you to grow up into the man that you're becoming? And a very interesting thing that I didn't know
Yeah.
about you was the fact that you were born in Polokwane and moved to KZN. And
Yeah.
so I'm interested in
Yeah.
knowing how were, the upbringing or the way in which you were brought up in those two places, and how do you think the elements of the two places,
Yeah.
because they're very different, how are the elements of the two places,
Yeah.
contribute, and what role have they played in you becoming the person that you are today?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, oh, you can hear me well, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
First of all, I'd like to thank you. Thank you for giving me this platform. I'm so grateful to be here. It's such an amazing thing, to be able to serve. I love serving. I love serving people, and you know this, right? And when you give me a platform like this, you just enhance that desire of me serving. So I appreciate that. Thank you for that. And big ups to you and what you're doing. You're very inspirational as well. And I was super,
Thank
super
you.
excited to be involved. So to tell you the honest truth, Polokwane was a starting point for me. It was basically my manger, right? It was where I grew up. It was where I was born. It was my birthplace, and it was my beginning point. Your birthplace is your birthplace. Nobody chooses it for you, but you have the ability to choose where you want to go, right? So it was my birthplace was a starting point for me. I don't really have a lot of point of reference from there. I was just growing up, and it was really, really amazing for me because my childhood, a lot of what has shaped my childhood is that which I've observed. So my observations, right, and things I've observed through my parents, the initiatives my parents were involved in, etc. But a lot of what has enabled me to be who I am now, especially as I moved to KZN, is I was aware of a lot of things. I think me growing up was me being aware of the world and how the world works. I think some young people would say them growing up is a way of them trying to navigate through life. I feel like for me, I was more of a student of the game. I still am, but growing up, I was more observant. I had the ability to read a room from a very young age. From the time I was in grade one. I had that gift of being able to read a room, being able to read climate, read how people are, people dynamics, how people work. Be able to read certain things and understand certain principles, right? And I'll tell you three things. The first one is I was more aware, like I was being aware of school and teachers, how
Yeah.
teachers work, how teachers operate, how teachers think, how teachers treat students.
And teachers
Two, I
hate
was
that.
being,
So I can't even, teachers hate that usually.
of course, they absolutely do. They hate it because if you're aware, you have the capability of being able to call out that which you've identified, right? And teachers don't like that at all. I feel like teachers don't like people who are gonna tell them that this is not how this works. Nobody likes anybody that challenges the system. And I've had a very, very, very tough primary year, even high school till this day. It's been tough for me as a person to grow in those aspects because of the person that I am. I've always stayed true to myself, and so I began to I was aware of racism and the thing of being aware about racism is I began challenging it from a very, very young age.
Mm.
I began challenging racism from a very young age, even in school. A school setting, whether it's a teacher, a student. There's a lot of things I was, confident enough to call out from the moment I was in grade 2, grade 3, you know, And the third thing is I was becoming aware that I will never ever be a duplicate, right? I will never ever be somebody else. I feel like that's where my greatness lied, where I understood, Uguti, I'll never be like anybody else. I'm nothing near like anybody who's here in the schooling institution. I'm myself and I embrace myself. And Stha, let me tell you something about embracing yourself is when you decide to become yourself, you become lonely, right? So immediately when you decide to become yourself, you become lonely because when you discover your uniqueness and decide to become who you are, loneliness is a result of that. Loneliness is inevitable, right?
Yeah.
And every true vision and dream only has one believer, and that is the steward of that believer, which is you. So you understanding who you are is also in alignment with understanding what your vision is in life. And that is when I started, becoming lonely. That is when I understood that people won't think like me, people won't act like me, people won't understand me. And I had to accept that and I had to live with it.
Yeah.
And I always say, you go to leaders occupy the present, they live in the future to ensure that the past never happens again, right? And you
Powerful.
have to choose to be alone if you will change the world. If you look at every great leader in history that truly discovered their power, they discovered their power in their loneliness. So a
Yeah.
lot of what contributed to my growth, especially growing up, is me being lonely and me using that loneliness as drive and fuel to just do what I have to do at that moment in time. When you look
Mm.
at great leaders in biblical history like Moses, he was in the wilderness and purpose was revealed to him. The Apostle Paul was in the wilderness and purpose was revealed to him. Joseph was sold by his brothers, thrown into a pit, and ended up being the prime minister of Egypt. Purpose
Yeah.
was revealed to him. Abraham was told to leave his family and leave everything that he owned behind so that he could acquire the blessing. So then that's the price I had to pay. I had to pay that price from a very early stage that I'll never be understood. And it's okay. I will cause offense from time to time, but it has
Yeah.
built me to be the person that I am today.
Yeah, I think that's incredible, and I'm sure that the person that you are right now wouldn't have been solidified without a support structure, whether it's your family, because those are the people that we're around most of the time. And I got to meet or or see your father for a brief few minutes when we shot the Prodigious Conference earlier on this year, and I just like to
Yeah.
ask you, how has your family being the support system that you needed, even in times when you were alone and you didn't have many friends who could understand, where you are in life
Yeah.
and where you're going.
Yeah. Brilliant question. The
Yeah,
beauty of my parents is my parents are two different people, but them being two different people has contributed to me being who I am today. So I'll
yeah.
start off with my father. I'm sure you noticed my father's very laid back. He's laid back. He's
Super
he's
chill. He's
quiet.
like,
Yeah, he's too chilled. Like people who hear about my father and who know about my father, when they meet him, they like, "What is that? Your dad?" I'm like, "Bro, it's him." He's
yeah,
chilled. He's laid back. He's calm. He makes calculated decisions from the smallest things. Like he taught me diligence. He taught me character. He taught me humility. He taught me how to be humble to your surroundings. Right? He's the more laid back guy. My mom, on the other hand, my mom is the outgoing one. My mom is crazy. She's outgoing. She's a risk taker. There's
yeah,
nothing that I've ever wanted to do that my mom was like, this is impossible to do. Anything that I come to my mom with, she's like, kill it, pursue it, right? So my
mm,
mom is the take the risks. My mom reminds me of Richard Branson, actually. If you read Richard Branson's book, Screw It, Let's Do It, in the beginning, he speaks about how people in his firm call him Mr. Yes, because he adapted this analogy of saying yes first and figuring it out after,
later.
you know yeah, and that could be dangerous, and that your breakthrough could also lie in that too, because a lot of my breakthroughs have lied in those qualities in which I've adapted from my mom. The being out there, my mom taught me how to be a people's person, how to negotiate, how to communicate, because she's a very, very, very dope people's person. A lot of people love and honor my mom, and not even on large scale, like Instagram followers type of thing. Like she's a people's person. She's learned
Yeah,
to develop connection with people. And I get that from her. So those two elements from both my parents contributed to who I am today. And they help me in everything that I do in business. They help me in work. They help me in my interactions. They help me in everything. And also my siblings, my
Mm.
siblings challenge me daily. My siblings are really, really successful in what they do. My two sisters. So when my parents, Vel and my parents created a culture of work from an early stage. They created a culture of work from an early stage. That is why my parents trust me with work. They don't even have to monitor me. Like sometimes
Mm.
I'd ask myself, like, yo, these people probably don't even know what's going on in my high school, right? Because they've mentality abo sebayifake kimi yokuthi grind is the most primary thing ever. So they trust me with that. They've already instilled that mentality of work, and I get my work ethic from them. Like the things that I
Yeah.
do. Another thing I'll speak about is excellence. Like I get my excellence from my parents. Everything that they do is excellent, and they've taught me from a very early stage. The smallest thing that you do has to have a fuse of excellence in it. I remember my very, very first event, which was entrepreneurial youth masterclass that I did in Durban in 2018. I was
Yeah.
16 when I did it, right? There were like over 150 young people there. We were crowded in a cafe, Stha, imagine. Now it's like a
Yeah.
small cafe, and we all crowded in there just to come get insight and listen, you know. And I remember I didn't charge. That was the first event I did for free. I didn't charge, but I made sure that it was excellent. Anybody who was there will tell you there was excellence. People were treated right. People were treated nice, because the fuse of excellence has been instilled within me from a very early stage, and I thank my parents for that. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a pretty cool family, and I think it's undeniable the imprint that they've had on the person that you are today, and that's really incredible. I want to touch on
Yeah.
your career, I guess, in public speaking and events, and
Okay.
using your voice to motivate other young people as well. What
Yeah.
inspired you to want to be on stages and speak to people, and where did you get the confidence to do it and speak on topics like entrepreneurship that people perceive
Yeah.
kids at 15 not to know in depth? Where did that confidence and like self-belief come from to do that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it came from my father. Like, I mean, inspired by him, my mom too. I always knew that I had the gift to speak, right?
Yeah.
But commercializing that gift was nowhere on my mind. I was into music. I still am, like that's another thing we're doing in Prodigious. We want to start producing music, right? So
That's
I was into
awesome.
music. Yeah, I was into music. I still am, and I was involved in church with music, and I was very, very intensely into music, you know. And grade 10 was my process of maturing, right? So I started maturing in grade 10. Another thing I wanted to tell you was that, how I used to call things out. I had the ability from a very young age to be able to tell what's right and wrong, but I didn't have the ability to provide solutions. Solutions
Mm.
come with wisdom, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't have that wisdom, and when you don't have wisdom, you perish. When you don't have wisdom, you make decisions that are not in alignment with purpose. And yeah, I could tell what was right and wrong. I had strong leadership qualities and capabilities, but I didn't have the ability to channel and direct them in the correct, way. Because I look back in grade 10, it was when it all started. I was like, okay, God began to work through me, and began to show me, that I need wisdom, understanding, clarity more than anything, so that I could mature, right, in whatever it is that I was doing. So grade 10, I began to mature. I began to see things from a very different angle. And then that is when I began to go into to entrepreneurship. I started selling at school. Started selling lollipops at school. So I had this thing of being able to see a problem and then providing a solution for the problem. So let me tell you a story. So one day I'm at the tuck shop. I overhear a conversation of people saying, the lollipops that are sold at school don't have bubble gum. And we all know that bubble gum is not allowed at school, right? But
Yeah.
me being me, I started selling, right? really, really funny. I started selling. As things started taking off, I started selling amagwinya at school. Now, true story,
Oh,
bruh. I
wow.
started selling amagwinya. True story. What I would wake up at 4 a.m. I'd do my thing. 5 a.m. I'd get ready for school. 6:30, I'm at school. I'm standing by the top corridor on the Isizulu block. I'm selling. People are coming. It was crazy, and I was enjoying it. That's when I realized that this is my stuff. I'm really, really enjoying this thing. I'm enjoying bringing
Yeah.
content to people, bringing solutions to people. Then I started doing history, right? Because grade 10, you choose subjects, right? Started
Mm.
doing history. One day, I'm in history class. My teacher is speaking about a particular topic. I think that we were talking about um, culture and the African culture and how it's
Yeah.
important for there to be reform, you know. And the thing she was saying, I just wasn't agreeing with them. So me being who I am, I just started opposing. I was like, but what you're saying does not make sense. This is how it's done. This is how it should be done in order to ensure that there's results for our young people,
Yeah.
in order to ensure that there's equal opportunities for everybody. And she was like, wow. She literally stood there and she looked at me and she's like, wow. And then she
Yeah.
said, I'll never forget this. And then she said, you should do Toastmasters, right? Then
Mm.
I was like, I don't even know what that is, right? Then I ignored it. Comes the next lesson. I'm going with the debating, I'm going with and she
Yeah.
kept saying the same thing to me. She kept saying, you should do Toastmasters. Ignored it. The third time she said it, and then afterwards she gave me a form, right? She gave me the form and she's like, I know you're not gonna take this seriously. So I'm gonna email this form to your dad. Woo,
Oh my goodness. Yo, she took it all the way up.
bruh, she took it way. And she's like, I'm gonna email this form to your dad. I'm like, okay, cool. Uh, where was my dad? I think my dad at the time was in the UK. And he's like, I got a form, you're doing this. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Took the money, wired it. First two sessions, I missed it
How
because I
is
didn't read the form about
yeah.
the dates. I didn't read the dates. In my head, I was like, yeah, this Toastmasters thing is coming. I just didn't know when it was. First two sessions, I missed it. The third session on that day, I had history. My teacher called me and she's like, if you miss the third session, you can't graduate, right? And you've already paid.
Yeah.
And I was like, snap. So I was like, okay, cool. I went. Every single session from that day in which I went, I won all categories for all speaking categories. I won first place
Mm.
for all speaking categories. Table topics, toast, doing the toast, prepared speech, everything. And I was like, okay, this is my thing, like I just kind of, went through it. And then I got asked to prepare a speech for the grad.
Yeah.
I prepared a speech for the grad, absolutely killed it. I remember the title of my keynote was How Can We Make South Africa Work Again? And how can we restructure the education model in South Africa to benefit, South African youth? Killed it. First place, went to nationals, killed it. After nationals, first student in my school to do that. After nationals, I got put in the paper, right? In the local paper that no, I killed
Yeah.
it. And then my principal called me and she's like, I want you to restructure your keynote. I want you to present it to the staff tomorrow, right?
Wow.
So I'm like,
Wow.
okay. And she's like,
Okay.
tomorrow at break, I want you to present to the staff. I'm like, okay, cool. That evening, went home, didn't sleep, restructured my keynote, did my research, got empirical data. I did as many things as I could because I wanted to kick ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've always had that competitive thing. So I did that, went there, break time, didn't go to my friends, went to the staff room, set up my laptop, set up my slides for the whole break. I killed it. I delivered my keynote, excellently. Teachers were amazed. Like the teachers were on about me, for like a solid 2-3 weeks. Like,
Mm.
dude, you're doing amazing. You're killing this. Like, you're really, really smart.
Mm.
And then that's when I realized, I was no, but the content that I was speaking about is in demand. You know,
Mm.
the content is in demand. There's a lot of young people who need this content, who need to listen to it, right? And who need content that is structured for the South African context. And then I
Mm.
did the entrepreneurial masterclass. So that's what inspired me to get into public speaking. I always knew I had the gift of speaking, but that teacher, Mrs. Vero, I remember her, Mrs. Vero, she pushed me to get into Toastmasters. From Toastmasters, I just got pushed to keep doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's when I started getting serious about it, you know, even at nationals. Like, I remember there was a parent who came to me after and he was like, dude, you're way ahead of your time, like leave and go do something greater than this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you know, I get it. You know, the
Yeah.
beauty of God speaking is God can speak through people as well. You know, God
Mm.
speaks through his word, through prayer, through intuition, through experiences, and through people.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yeah, I was like, okay, cool, I'm enjoying this. So I hosted the masterclass 2018. Actually, after this, I'm gonna send you the speech I did that day. The worst speech
Please,
I've
please
ever done.
do.
It was the worst speech I've ever done. And I'll tell you why it
How?
was the worst. Listen, I'll tell you why it was the worst. It was the worst because of my anxiety on the day. The
Mm.
content was amazing. I
Yeah.
remember I titled it Staying Relevant in the Fourth Industrial Revolution. That's
Yeah.
what I spoke about. And I spoke about how it's important for us to position ourselves as young people to stay relevant and acquire educational instruments that will enable us to be relevant in our space. It was hell. I took my jacket off. I was sweating. It was just
Oh
hell for
gosh.
me, you
Yeah.
know? And but when I look back and I look at that growth, it's amazing for me because I see where I'm at now. And I was only like 16 then.
Mm.
And you know, a lot of people were also inspired, but gifted people can't see themselves, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
yeah, so but that's what inspired me to go
Mm.
into speaking.
That's amazing. I'm going to pick your brain a little bit on what you said at the end of gifted people often don't see themselves. And it seems to be a recurring theme as you talk about how your teacher, forced you to do Toastmasters and explore your talents in the realm of speaking, even when you didn't see it within yourself. And I wanted to ask you, how do you deal with feeling like you're not meant to, be in the space that you're in? Because when we have anxiety and we have thoughts about whether we're qualified or not to speak on certain things and do certain things, sometimes people run away from their greatness. And
Yeah,
you're a person who basks in your greatness and you sit in it and you allow it to shine onto other people. What keeps
yeah.
you inspired to keep doing that, from a place of confidence and from a place of faith and belief?
Understanding that there is an assignment, right? When you understand that there is an assignment for you to do to reach your destiny, your approach towards the world is no longer about yourself. So I'm going to make 2 points. The first point is understanding assignment. Assignment is the job you have to do. Destiny is the place you have to go. In order to pursue destiny and in order to reach that place of destiny, you have the job to do, right? You can't just wake up and pursue destiny. So I understood that the only way for me to get to destiny was the only way for me to get to my destiny um, was to do the job. I had things to do, you know. Oof. And another thing I'm gonna say is, God will never reveal your life to you at one go. God will never reveal your potential to you at one go. God will reveal your potential to you in pieces, right? And you, as the steward of your life, you have the responsibility to allocate those pieces in the right place for your potential to be revealed to you. And as you allocate those pieces, it's like a puzzle. The
Yeah.
picture grows, you know, and it grows into what is called the bigger picture, which is vision. So I had to understand that. I had to understand that there's a job that I have to do. And if I don't do it, all I'm doing is missing purpose. But in order for me to understand that, I had to understand purpose. I had to understand that I'm here for a reason. You know, I had to understand that there was an intent for my creation. There was a thought that my creator had when he put me here.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just have to do it, you know.
Yeah.
That's my third point, understanding purpose. My fourth point is very powerful because it changes everything. I had to understand that purpose was not about me,
It's
right?
about other people.
So of course,
Mm.
and once you find something that is greater than you to serve, then you have found your purpose, you know.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I had to understand that my purpose has nothing to do with me. So my personality, my struggles, my anxiety, my fears, everything that was a byproduct of me had to submit to my purpose because my
Oh,
purpose was bigger than me.
I need a
Mhm.
moment. I need. No, that's incredible. That's incredibly powerful.
Because my purpose was bigger than me. And
Mm.
oh, another thing I'm going to say, yeah, yeah, but when you understand what I'm about to say now, the way you approach life changes completely. There is somebody that is dependent on you to be in your purpose, right?
Mm.
There's somebody that is depending on you to be in your purpose. We think that because people don't say they are dependent on us, they are not. But there is somebody that is dependent on you to be in your purpose. And I love Tyler Perry said this on at the BET Awards when he accepted the Icon Awards. He's like, don't forget that somebody's destiny is tied to your dream, right?
Yeah.
And he said that if it wasn't for me pursuing to build this empire, people like Viola Davis, Idris Elba,
Taraji P.
Taraji, they wouldn't
Henson.
have jobs, you know, they wouldn't have avenues to work in.
Mm.
So now you have to think about it as it all connects. You connect, your purpose connects, it aligns with other people that are out there. And once I understood that my fear once I understood that labantu that are attached to my calling are much greater than my fear, are much greater than my stage fright, are much greater than my anxiety, are much greater than what people are going to say about me. Then you have intense focus on that very thing that you're doing. So whenever you feel like you're not enough, think about that person that's dependent on you to do what
Mm.
you have to do.
That's amazing, and very very powerful for someone out there who's listening to this. I want to get a bit into the work that you do with your different and various organizations, and how that is an extension of the purpose and the destiny that you continue, to chase. You touched on something that was very very important in the previous question about your purpose and how that's what you need to look after and chase as you live your day, every single day of your life. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I was really marveled at my own personal development and how God has taken me on my own
Yeah,
journey of purpose. And although mine came at a later time in university, I do realize now that while I was raised in an environment that taught me to get a job, here I am now looking to live a life of purpose. When I expose myself to resources and
yeah,
prayer and videos by people like
yeah,
Oprah who are telling me to live a life of purpose, I ask myself every day,
yeah,
why didn't school teach me this? Why didn't my parents teach me this? Why didn't the people around me, teach me this?
yeah.
Because I
Of
think
course.
because I think a
Yeah.
lot of us would be more aligned with the things that we're supposed to be doing. So how are, the things that you do within Prodigious and, your organization that you started at 15, I think it was, Generation Dominion, how are those avenues all centered around doing that type of work?
Yeah. So look, yo, I'm loving this interview because I'm telling my story. So look, I'm 15 years old. I To host this event, I have to have an organization, right? I
Yeah.
can't just say Lethabo Makua host. Okay, so I start an organization called Excel High Solutions, right? And I'm like, basically pretty much same concept and same business model. Like we provide education that is altered and tailored for the South African context, and that is just the purpose of this education is to assist as many young people as possible to identify with their skills and commercialize those skills, right? I do it, the event goes well. That very next year, God tells me do something in March. Okay, cool. I changed I rebrand, because rebranding is cool. I
Yeah.
rebrand and I call it generational dominion, right? What inspired me to call it generational dominion is my favorite passage of scripture, which is Genesis 1, verse 26. And God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds in the sky, over everything that creepeth on the ground." So that passage of scripture inspired me to start generational dominion, which was pretty much the same thing. Well, I just wanted to do a rebrand. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I did the rebrand, generational dominion. We did the event in March. It, as a lot of young people were there. It was amazing. It served its purpose. And I love the story. March goes, and I'm like, there's a desire in me that says, do something every holiday. Because now I'm in grade 11, right? This is 2019. I'm in grade 11. March, I remember the date. March the 31st was the day after breakup day, I think, or the last weekend when we were about to open schools. So I did the event. That was my excuse at home. It's okay. We're closed. So I've got something to do now. Then June the 17th of 2019, I wanted to do something else, right?
Yeah.
So I hosted a in pursuit of we called it In Pursuit of the Dream masterclass. I actually enjoyed In Pursuit of the Dream masterclass more than anything else, more than any of my work. It was amazing. There were like 30 young people there. If you go on my social media, we go down, you'll see there were like 30 young people there. It was amazing. It was intense conversation. It was speaking from the groundworks of things, and I, and let me tell you the beauty of it. The Dream Masterclass, there's 30 young people there. It's an amazing atmosphere. My heart was more there than ever because the first masterclass was stressful. Like, it was a new event for me. The food was late. All the things that happen,
Yeah.
when it's your first thing,
Yeah.
like all the things that happen when you doing your very first thing.
Mm.
And yeah, that was my first masterclass. The second event that we did, also I had to put in a lot of work into it, like there was a lot of work required for that one. I had to put in a lot of work. I was running around, like I didn't even speak anymore. I had to speak at that event. And
Yeah.
the way I was running around with so many things. So this is the beauty of seed form. This is when something is in seed form. And the reason why I'm saying
Yeah.
these things is, yeah, the reason why I'm saying these things is I don't want to come off like, oh no, from day one everything was perfect. We need to start embracing things that are in seed form. We need to start encouraging young people to pursue things and understand that when something is in seed form, it won't be perfect all the time. It has to
Yeah.
grow, it has to mature, it has to develop. So yeah, okay. And then In Pursuit of the Dream was when I had formulated a much stronger team, right? It was when I had formulated a much stronger team, a team that understands my vision, a team that was able to assist me with everything. So on that day, I was able to speak and I was able to attend. It was so nice, it was an amazing experience, right? So, and then in Pursuit of the Dream Masterclass, there was something in my heart that just kept saying, take the concept of this masterclass, right? From your
Yeah.
speakers, from all of your speakers to the content that was delved into and make it a conference, right? So I'm like, okay, this is my plan for 2020 March. You know,
Yeah.
I worked on it from July all the way to like December. I'm
Yeah.
meeting with people, I'm getting money. I'm doing all of these things. I'm running up and down because I saw something. Like I saw this vision that In Pursuit of the Dream Masterclass is a conference. And let me tell you the beauty of the prodigious conference that you spoke about that we're going to be live streaming in November. The speakers that were at In Pursuit of the Dream Masterclass are the speakers that are going to be at on the virtual experience.
Yeah.
Whoever was at the masterclass is gonna feel that what I was trying to relive. I was trying to relive that experience on a much larger scale. So yeah, that's what inspired me to do the prodigious, virtual experience because, COVID hit. So we had to pivot. I had a venue booked. I had everything online, but
Yeah.
the Lord's purpose prevails. And at the
Yes,
end
it
of the
does.
day, it was all about understanding how I can, move, because the theme for the virtual experience that I've produced is vision in the midst of chaos. So the importance of having vision in the midst of chaos. What can you do in chaos to ensure that you thrive? And I wanted to teach as many young people as possible, even people, millennials, and formulate content for that on that particular subject matter. You have to understand that South Africa's unemployment rate has skyrocketed, and there are many factors that account on the unemployment rate. And some of them, we know them, and central to these factors is the issue of education. And the
Yeah.
majority of unemployed are the youth. And that is what we call youth unemployment. And one thing we've discovered at Prodigious with my team, especially since 2018, since all the work that we've done, we've discovered that there are many young graduates with a respectable level of education who are employed, who are unemployed. Sorry, but I mean, even now there are many young people who are likely to join the ranks of the unemployed. So if the economy dictates a particular direction, there's nobody that owes you a job for studying that which is not relevant.
Oh, that's
So
so
how do we
powerful. That's so powerful.
yeah. So how do we solve? Thank you. So how do we solve the relevant education model? And I even stole that from the keynote that I did on at the first masterclass, staying relevant in the fourth industrial revolution. Is I spoke about education, but I said in order for us to succeed in education, we need to understand relevant education, education that will give us the skills and the ability to commercialize those skills to ensure growth in our country. You need education that will help you grow in that particular context that you're in. You're in Newcastle, you're in Toti, wherever you are, you need education that will teach you as to how to build from that particular place. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, and it is through it's yeah,
Yeah.
so sorry about that. Sorry
No
about that.
problem. I can hear you.
It was through education. Yeah, it was through educational interventions like the prodigious conference, whereby we want to solve the problem and address the very same problem where young people feel like they don't know what they want to do with their lives. And that's why at Prodigious, I've broken it into two sectors for now, because I want to go into seed funding next year or the year after. But what we're doing now is we doing Prodigious Live, which is a educational provision system whereby we just want to give out as much content to as many underprivileged young people who don't have access to opportunities. The very same thing that we're doing with the Prodigious Conference that we've produced, that you've been a part of as well, is we want to formulate that content into a feasible way in which we can distribute it into schools, communities, and churches. So that's what we're currently working on now before we can live stream the conference.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
education about knowledge, information, skills, which will help young people make credible decisions in moving from where they are to where they need to be.
Yeah.
And at Prodigious, we offer an entrepreneurial solution, to help extricate them from the quagmire of irrelevance. So we come with the relevant education
And
conversations.
yeah.
It's been fun, it's been stressful, but I think we can make an impact.
You are definitely making an impact. And I want to expand on what you've coined as relevant education, because I was actually having a discussion about this yesterday with one of my business partners at the finance gym. And I sent him a link to a video on Instagram of Jennifer Lopez talking about the fact that you don't have to have a degree to have value or a qualification to have value. You as a
Of
person have
course.
value to give to the world. And he said
Yeah.
to me something very profound. He said that people often confuse formal institutions institutions of learning, such as universities or schools, with actual learning. And he said that the problem is we don't have an environment that allows for young students to learn with a purpose, but to learn with just to get a job, which is really not out there anyways
Yeah.
because of how our economy is. So how would you
Yeah.
like to make an impact in changing the paradigms that we have around education to make it more of a thing where people feel like they have value to add, as opposed to going to university thinking that they want the university to add value to them, and somehow replicate that in the workplace?
So through the prodigious conference, one, right? That is the goal with it. We want to bring a much more different angle of education. That's why, we're gonna put out this conference that we've virtual experience that we've produced. It's broken into 3 episodes. And in the episodes are brilliant, fascinating speakers. I don't want to give it away now, but
Yeah,
it's just an amazing, thing that we formulated and structured. I wrote the content, I've produced it, and it's just going to be amazing for us to put out there, because I want to see how the young people and millennials react to that sort of new different angle of education that we
education.
coming with. I mean, we can all agree that the education system is not working, but it's pointless for us to have the conversations and not do anything about it. So I'm even at school, like my own experience at school, I was that type of person. I was like, but this thing that you're trying to do isn't working, you know. And even in high school, that's why teachers didn't like me, because like I'll make an example, the fallacy that because a learner has been well behaved for 5 years of their life and they have been respectful to everybody, now you must take that learner and put that learner in a leadership position and call them a prefect, and think that that learner will be able to control the context of the schooling environment just like you do as a teacher in the classroom, is the most
Messed up.
absurd thing ever. Like, I mean, you don't understand leadership. And leadership is the ability to influence through inspiration and not manipulation. And some people are not leaders, they're just professional manipulators. And I had the ability of being able to call that out. I'd say these things like in school. Those things on their own don't allow learners and students to be able to cultivate their leadership skills, because now you now, because you're bad behaved or because you made a mistake, you're now canceled by the schooling institution, and
Yeah,
now you don't have the ability to cultivate your leadership skills. And I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's right. Everybody deserves a chance. Everybody deserves a chance to get into the playing field. And I mean, I said this even in my keynote at the virtual experience that's going to stream. I said that vision is about getting into the playing field. You can't be a spectator of a vision. You have to be
yeah,
involved in that particular vision, otherwise you won't reap the blessings of it. So vision is about getting into the playing field, and that's what I'm trying to do with Prodigious. I mean, my team consists of young people that are hungry, driven to work, that are driven to do something. You don't have to have a degree to make something happen. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
yeah, that's strongly what I believe in. And with that, back to my point, the education system doesn't work, and the approach, even the culture in school doesn't work, and the culture is messing with a lot of students. It's messing with their hearts, it's messing with their minds, it's messing with their confidence, their self-esteem. So I'm just trying to
Definitely.
eradicate that problem. I'm just trying to do what I can. That is why we also did Prodigious Live. I remember when you came to work with us, I even told you about it. I was like, I want to build this into a full-on content creation machine, that just creates content to benefit our South African youth. That is, if I've done that, I'm
You've
I'm
done
I'm
enough.
sharp.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
done, I've done it. A young person that can plug into something. They don't have access to YouTube. They can plug into, a radio station or something, whereby we're feeding them the correct stuff and tools. That is why I started Prodigious Live. And Prodigious Live that's what Prodigious Live is going to be about as well. It's going to be about ongoing education as well. And we want to start off with a podcast network. So we're going to launch a podcast network most probably in November, whereby we have, a variety of podcasts. We're going to probably start off with 2 or 3 this year, whereby the education that we're teaching is beneficial to our young people. And
Mm.
yeah, man, that's the way it is. That's what we're trying to do with it.
Yeah. We're definitely going to be looking out for all of that content. I'm very, very excited to see it all happen. And I want to, touch on the theme of the prodigious conference of 2020, which is vision in the midst of chaos. I want to know what has played or been chaotic moments in your own life, whether it was, personal moments that really tested your character or tested your faith, or just were, conflicting for you as a person. And how did you manage to maintain, or if not maintain, but grow your vision in your own personal chaos?
Uh, that's a good question. Okay, so maintaining vision and personal. Speaking about personal,
Mm.
um, becoming. You know, the conversation of becoming is very, very, very important, and I'm even learning, continuously about the conversation of becoming even now. Because
Mm.
one thing I've understood about becoming is that when you become, you have to be consistent in your becoming, right? So, what I had to understand is, in order for me to become the person I was created and designed to be, I have to unbecome who I'm not, right?
Yeah.
So, and in the process of me unbecoming who I'm not, then that is where it clashes, because now you have to let go of friends, you have to let go of people, you have to let go of habits, you have to let go of things that are hindering you from becoming that person that you want to be. And I started realizing that this conversation of becoming is a conversation of maturing, of maturation, you know. And I had to understand that in order for me to build my personal vision and my becoming, I have to be consistent. I have to be consistent with it. There are a lot of moments that tested my faith. Like I said, school. You know, me trying to find myself. There's no teenager that can say they've grown up and it's been all perfect for them. You try, go through it day by day, because a lot of things happen. People say things, you lose friends in the process, and you have to stand firm and become, right? And that
Yeah.
is just the price that you have to pay for becoming. And for me, even worse, because I realized from an early stage that I had a call on my life. So when I realized that, the battles I had to fight were, intense. So me developing that vision in the midst of my personal chaos was understanding that I have to mature. And in order for me to mature, I have to have clarity. I have to know where I'm going. I have to have clarity on things. I have to have clarity on seeing. I have to have clarity on how people work. I have to have clarity on how to treat people. I have to have principles. Point number one, clarity. Point number two, I have to have consistency. Consistency is the evidence of maturity and the pathway to mastery. You know, I love what Torre Roberts says. He says that the only thing that separates a dream from it being a dream and from the dream and it being a reality is consistency. you
Yeah.
know and it's just consistency. So I had to be consistent, even in my down times, even in my sad times. I had to be consistent. And the third point is continuous realization. Always understanding that I'm a student of the game, always understanding that I'm going to be wrong, always understanding that there are just things that are there are just things that I'm going to realize about myself, and always understanding that I'm learning more about me than I know, you know.
Yeah.
And another thing about continuous realization is that in every circumstance, every situation, in every season, there is a lesson about you in that season.
Ooh,
I mean,
that's
sometimes
yeah.
we always look for lessons and awakenings about other things, about our vision, about our ambitions. But in that season, all the creator was trying to do is teach you something about yourself that you didn't know, you know. And when you adapt to that and you understand that continuous realization is the key to becoming the person who you were created to be, it changes your life completely.
Mm.
And yeah, that's about it in terms of personal vision.
Mm.
But in terms of my corporate vision, I had to understand that, there's a lot that I have to do, I mean,
Yeah.
the problems being there doesn't mean it's my fault. It's none of our faults as young people that the
Mm.
systems are the way they are. But sadly, we inherited it. So, when you inherit something, it's yours,
Yeah.
So we exactly. So I don't want my kids to grow up in a high unemployment rate like it is now. So there's something I got to do about it.
But
I got to
yeah.
do, as I can. Yeah.
Mm. Who are some of the people that inspire you and feed your motivation for success?
Parents. Parents, one, has to be parents, one. Two, um, for me, I'm so inspired by people around me. Like, I'm not really, yeah, I am inspired by, you iconic people, etc. But I feel like I should take this time and honor those around me.
Yeah.
Like they inspire me, they push me, like example, you. I told you the other day how much you inspire me, how organized you are. I think that's the important thing of, when you're in a position of growth or when you're in a position of becoming, you have to have people around you that shine your blind spots on you. You can't have
Yes.
people who only reflect that which is good. They have to reflect that which is bad so that you learn from them, and there's a lot
Mm.
of learn from in terms of being organized, in terms of being on time, in terms of being punctual, those type of
Thank
things. So for
you.
me, I
Yeah.
have heroes in many aspects, like you for one. I made that example. Another hero is my sister, my sister Katleho. She's my hero in terms of just staying true to yourself, and being real at all times, and one of my best friends, he's my hero because he's just upfront real. He's just, when he doesn't, if he identifies with something that is not for him or for his cause, he lets it
Yeah.
go. And sometimes us who are so attached to purpose, it's hard to let things go because there's emotion attached in those things. And so
Yeah.
I realized that I realized that I needed somebody like that who will be able to be like, wake up, this is reality. You've got to let that go in order to move on to the person that you want to be. So the people that inspire me are the people around me. There's a lot of people around me that help me, that push me, and that I just observe from. Like, I'm a very, very good observer. So I observe, and yeah, they inspire me to be the person that I am and to do the things that I do.
Yeah. And finally, what would you say to a young person who feels conflicted about their purpose? They want to be of use to the world in some way, and they want to, make their mark on earth by their life. How would you inspire them or motivate them to keep going, to find their purpose, and to stay true to who they are?
Oof, man, that's an amazing question, Stha. Uh okay. There's something I like to call staying power, right? I call it staying power. You need staying power. you know Challenges will come, distractions will come, options will come, but you need to have what I call staying power. You need to understand that failure is not final. The challenges of life do not mean that you have to give up. You need to stay the course and see the other end of your dream, not just the beginning. I mean, a lot of the times we're so obsessed with the beginning, and in the process of becoming, we forget that there is an end that we need to witness. There is an end that we need to see too, you know. And to get to that end, it's crazy because the process of becoming happens until the day you die. You never reach a destination. You never reach, but you have to see what you saw in the beginning. Oh, I like this. Vision is pursuing what you saw, basically. So vision
Yeah.
is pursuing something that you saw. There's something that you saw in your heart, in your mind. You saw this particular thing, and you're just moving towards that very, very thing. And I think staying power is important. And many people start things that they do not finish. And you need to have the power to stay until you see what you have started come to fruition. And what separates the finishers from the beginners is staying power and consistency. That's simply what it is. What separates the finishers from the beginners is staying power and consistency. And two, intense focus. I like to say that focus stands for follow one course until successful. So without focus, you will not achieve. And there will be many things that try to deter your focus. But when you're focused, you live a life of direction and clarity. I mean, I love how the greatest writer that we have in history today, King Solomon, he says, where there's no vision, people perish, but happy is he who keeps the law. And the word perish means pora, and that word means to loosen or to be weak or to expose, you know. And when you understand that where there is no focus, where there is no vision, you're basically exposed. You're exposed to the tragedies of life, you're exposed to the circumstances of life, or you could even be exposed to the opinions of others, where there is no intense focus. And you got to look at how a lion attacks their prey. A lion might see a herd of buffaloes everywhere, but it has its target locked in on that one. And
Yeah.
even in the process of approaching that one, there might be buffaloes adlulayo right in front of the lion that the lion could easily just go onto, but it has its target fixed on that particular thing. And it's just the way it is. You gotta have staying power, you gotta have consistency, you gotta have um intense focus. And to tell you the honest truth, that's one thing I've realized um about what I'm doing now is I've got to have intense focus. So yeah, that's the advice that I can give.
Lethabo Makua, thank you so much. It was such an insightful conversation, an inspiring conversation. And I wish you nothing but the best. Uqhubeke ukhule in wisdom and understanding and in your purpose. And I genuinely can't wait to see all the things you do. I mean, you're only 18, and I can already imagine the things you're going to have done by 30. So I'm very excited for all the things that
Yeah,
you're going to be doing. And I wish you nothing but the best. I wanted to ask, how
thank you.
can people, get a hold of you and the things you do, and how can people stay up to date with all of the content that you produce across all of your different avenues?
Yeah. Yeah. Follow me on Instagram, Lethabo Makua, on Twitter, Lethabo Makua, Facebook page, Lethabo Makua. Follow us on Instagram, Prodigious Live or Prodigious Conference, on Facebook as well. Yeah, and download my podcast, The Dream Podcast with Lethabo Makua, brought to you by Prodigious Studios. It's a really, really nice audio platform that will teach you how to yearn and rise for purpose. And we've got a rebrand coming soon of the podcast that we're dropping next month. We've got nice interviews coming with as many young people, yourself included. So it's going to be really, really cool. So people should
Yeah.
just, yeah, like link up with me. Whatever it is that you guys need from me, like hit me up. I'm always open to hearing. I'm always open to helping. I'm always open to working.